Do you hear that? What is that sound? Oh, it's a bee! But it's not just any ordinary bee. This is St. Abigail's Sidekick Bee by Tiny Saints. Hi, Bee! St. Abigail had a very special relationship with bees. And today, we're going to hear a story based on her work with bees. Grab your bee friend and snuggle up, because this is going to be a good story.
Juice box!
Abigail sat under the oak tree as a bee buzzed near her ear. She considered what an angel had said to her, that this place was not where she was to stay. Are you going to help me, little bee? So Abigail set off on a journey to find the place God wanted her to settle. And while she didn't know where God was leading her, she trusted what the angel had said to her, that the destined place would be marked by 9 white ears. It was a hot day, and the buzzing bees were her only company as she made the long journey. Off in the distance, Abigail saw a white figure on 4 legs. She got closer. She saw another, and then another. She noticed that some of the creatures had antlers, and she wondered if perhaps this was the place God intended for her. Abigail looked around. The landscape was simple, but she knew that if this is where God wanted her, this is where she needed to be. She noticed that the buzzing bees had gotten louder, and she walked towards the sound. She noticed a beehive hanging from one of the trees, and she came right up to it and inspected it. She was captured by the sight, and she carefully examined the bees flying in and out. One of the bees flew right up towards her. She extended her hand, and the bee gently landed on her finger. Abigail looked carefully at the little creature, remembering what her grandmother had always told her, that when a person dies, the soul leaves the body in the form of a bee. She reflected on how her little black and yellow friend pointed to God. The bee flew away, back into the hive, and Abigail had an idea. She walked right up to the hive and very carefully took it off the tree. She was amazed that the bees continued on with their business, not minding her at all. Abigail looked down at her apiary, where she kept the bees. She smiled as she saw the beauty of their honey-making process. She reached inside and swiped her finger against the hive to get a fingerful of honey. It was the sweetest, best honey she had ever tasted. She had made her home in this new place, and she was thankful for all her new friends, both people and bees. She turned her head as she heard a noise behind her. She noticed a person running up to her. She couldn't make out who it was, but as the person got closer, she realized it was her friend Hannah. "Abigail!" yelled Hannah. "My brother Benjamin is sick, and I'm worried about him. Can you come help?" "I know exactly what he needs," said Abigail, as she removed a large scoop of honey from the apiary. She put the honey in a jar and took Hannah's hand, running with her to tend to young Benjamin. Once they arrived at Hannah's house, Abigail went right inside and saw the sick boy lying under a blanket. "Hello, Benjamin. My name is Abigail." Benjamin smiled and opened his mouth to speak, but only coughs came out. Abigail took a spoon, dipped it in the jar of honey, and extended it out to Benjamin. "Here, try this," said Abigail. "It tastes nice and sweet and will help you feel better." She slowly extended the spoon into Benjamin's mouth, and he ate the honey right from the spoon. He smiled and said, "That's delicious." Abigail fed him more honey, and he kept eating. When he had finished, Abigail turned to Hannah, handed her the jar, and said, "Make sure to give this to him every day." Hannah nodded and said, "Thank you, Abigail." 3 days later, as Abigail was tending to the bees, she heard something running up to her. "Benjamin?" she asked. "Yes, it's me," yelled Benjamin's small voice. Abigail ran up to him and hugged him. He yelled, "I'm all better now, thanks to your honey." "Praise God," said Abigail. Abigail offered a prayer of thanksgiving to God for the work of her marvelous bees. She knew that this is exactly where God wanted her. I loved that story about St. Abigail and the bees. I hope you had fun playing with me and hearing the story. Next time you see a bee, think about the special purpose for which God created bees. If you want to get the bee I was playing with, have your parents click the link in the description. I can't wait to play with you again soon. I'll see you next time. Goosebumps.